Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Today, Brian Kohberger was due back in court. His defense team, they were asking for evidence. Also, what we know is that a cleaning crew is back over at the home where the 4 Idaho college students were murdered. We're going to go ahead and roll the intro, give YouTube time to send out notifications, and then we're actually going to watch what went down in court today. So let's roll the intro, and we will get right into it. All right, guys. So let's go ahead. Let's get into it. Let's see. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna watch what happened in court today as his defense team got up and discussed or actually demanded evidence that they say the prosecution is kind of keeping from them. So let's go ahead. Let's pull that up. Sherry, what you cooking for dinner? All right, you guys. And this is from Law and Crime Network. Let's go. You guys let me know if you can't hear it. I know he's supposed to be innocent until presumed guilty, but I get like queasy looking at this man, just thinking about the possibility of what he did.
All rise. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, let's get on the record, please.
A new recipe for pork chops. I love pork chops, Sherry.
On the record, this is State of Idaho versus Brian Kohberger, case number CR 29222805. Mr. Kohberger is in the court. He is represented by Ms. Taylor, Mr. Lobston, and Ms. Massett.
I normally try to add captionings to everything, but because this just went up, captionings has not been added to the video that Law and Crime put up, so I can't add captionings either. I'm sorry, guys.
State is represented by Mr. Thompson and Ms. Jennings, also Mr. Nye and Ms. Beatty. And we're here for some motions, discussions. And before we get there, I want to address, really everybody, about the revised amended dissemination order. Apparently there's some misunderstanding about who it applies to and who it doesn't apply to, because what I thought, and this is 100% my responsibility, I use the term agents, and the revised order says that the prosecuting attorneys, defense attorneys, any agents of the prosecuting attorneys and defense attorneys are affected by this order. Apparently, some of the media interpreted that as it doesn't apply to law enforcement, but it does. So law enforcement is, they are agents of the prosecuting attorneys. Now, I'm going to issue another order, another revised order, just to make sure that that is clear, because people seem to be very confused about that. Agent, definition of an agent is one that acts or has the power or authority to act. Another definition is one empowered to act for or represent another. So I'm going to include law enforcement for the prosecuting attorneys, agents, and for the defense attorneys, investigators. So it's clear. I think it's sort of doubling down on the definition, but apparently that's necessary. I'm also going to add retained expert witnesses for each side because we don't want to have a trial in the media or in the public. We want it to be in the courtroom. Speaking of that, a comment on the cameras. They're in the courtroom now. And I have deferred my decision about cameras. One of the things that's going to be really important, that is very important, is that the people with the camera and media need to follow the rules. And we've had some issues where people were pushing the envelope, particularly focusing on the tables where counsel sits. You are not to turn your cameras toward the top of those tables. And if you do that, you're probably going to have to leave the courtroom. Also, one of the things that happened in the Daybell case is that the cameras just continue to.
Hold on. I'm trying to make sure I get this all down. So he is saying that he's revised the order, like the gag order, so that it includes law enforcement that worked for the prosecution, any law enforcement that worked this scene or that has been any part of this, they are now included in the order. And as far as the defense attorney, any investigators, and for both, any retained witnesses for both sides, they are now under this gag order. But now he switches to media. He says they need to follow the rules and they are not allowed to turn the cameras. I don't know what he said, like that they're not allowed to face them directly at the tables. Is that what he said?
To turn your cameras toward the top of those tables.
Towards the top of the tables.
If you do that, you're probably going to have to leave the courtroom. Also, one of the things that happened in the Daybell case is that the cameras just continue to focus on the defendant. Don't do that. That's what brought the cameras to have to leave the courtroom in that case. And what I would prefer, if you want to continue to have cameras in this courtroom, is to back off and not. Do we have that? Yeah, make sure that's muted. Make sure that we just have the totality of what is happening in the court. And not.
So these days, I've been highly considering.
Okay, so basically, yeah, so their notes can't be seen. That makes a lot of sense. Any photos that they may have laying out, like God forbid they do have photos laying out, so they can't be seen. People's crazy these days. People zoom in on things. I mean, you know. So he's also saying he wants the cameras to not focus in on Brian Kohberger, but the courtroom in full, basically.
Yes, for example, on Mr. Kohberger's face. So that was what happened in that case, and it's not appropriate. One other reminder to counsel to speak, and this is to myself, to speak into the microphone so we can have a good record. All right, I think those are my general announcements or cautions, and I think we've sort of boiled things down to some issues on motion to compel discovery. Some of those issues have been resolved, some have not. So let me go to you, Ms. Taylor, to start off. Where do we start?
Your Honor, we would request that we start on defendant's motion to compel and second motion to compel. I believe the third motion to compel will be heard on a different date.
True.
As it relates to the two motions to compel, and I'll present my arguments whenever the court's ready, but I can direct the court exactly to the numbers in those motions to compel that are still up for discussion today and requested ruling from the court.
Excellent. I'm ready.
On the original motion to compel, we are only seeking the court to order number 6 be complied with in that particular motion.
Okay, let me take a look at that. Number 6. And so this is the motion to compel discovery that was filed on May 4th.
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
Number 6. And that is request number 160.
That is for request number 160, and that was in the second supplemental discovery.
Okay, thank you. All right. And we're getting.
I know everybody responds differently, but I feel like if I was being accused of killing people, I would be like in tears. Like, I swear I did not do this. I'm so sorry.
Does that mean? Okay. Number 6.
Number 6 on that one, yes. On the second motion to compel, Your Honor, we are leaving the court to order on request number 1, number 4, number 5, and I think that we have a plan for the other numbers, so those of you that are reading the portfolio.
Thank you. Let me make sure. Page. Okay, number 1 is request 1. 4 is request 23.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, it's number 2, request 4.
Okay, I apologize. 2, request 4. Okay, and you said number 5?
And number 5, which is request 109.
Thank you. All right. And that's the second motion to compel discovery.
Correct.
All right. You want to make an argument about those?
I would like to.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Your Honor, first, I want to start with talking about the discovery process. As the court knows, we have been representing Mr. Kohberger since the very end of December of 2022. And during the course of the last several months, there has been a lot of discovery that's been requested and a lot that's been supplied. I come here asking the court to compel discovery. I'm seeking an order directing that we receive this discovery. I'm not seeking any other kind of sanction. I don't come here saying that the prosecutor has done something wrong. I come here saying that there are things that we have a disagreement about whether I should get them or when I should get them, and we seek a court order to assist us in this regard. Yesterday, we filed an exhibit that related to our motions to compel, and the purpose of that exhibit was to show the court how the discovery is coming in and what we are weeding through to try to find the information, and to let the court know that our office is making extraordinary efforts. Mr. Kohberger's team works nonstop, and when we ask for discovery, it's because we have reason to believe it exists. So I wanted the court and counsel to be aware it's not a fishing expedition. These are real items that are really necessary to investigate this case and prepare Mr. Kohberger's defense. So with that as the background and the frequent communication with the prosecutor's office to try to obtain the materials we need, we have come to an impasse in a few areas, and that's what brings us to court today. As the court knows, discovery is governed by statute 1309 and Idaho Criminal Rule 16. And the purpose of discovery is really to prevent an unfair trial, to prevent trial by surprise, and also to protect a charged person's rights to meet their defense. It protects their Sixth Amendment rights to have a sufficient and a prepared counsel, I should say, as we have a duty to investigate the case. So in preparing our case for Mr. Kohberger, we've asked for several things that we still need.
I really wanted to get gifts, but I'm gonna share. Mood has become my favorite Delta 9
Nice.
THC gummies.
I'll talk first about request number 6 in the first motion to compel, and that stems from discovery request 160. It's training records. These are training records of 3 specific police officers. Your Honor, we have not asked for training records for every officer that has had anything to do with the case. I would not want to stand here and let the court think that this is an exhaustive list of the officers that we might need training records for. But these are 3 officers that we've requested it for, and the state has indicated they're not willing to give us the training records. These 3 officers are officers that have each conducted critical interviews with critical witnesses in the case, made decisions about the interviews, made decisions about evidence, and conducted other kinds of investigations. We seek their training records to understand their processes. The training records, Your Honor, they are records that we've been able to obtain from various police agencies in the past. And this circumstance are not records that I can find on my own. These are not things that are on the internet. They're not going to just hand them over to me. The 2 of the officers that we've requested them about are Idaho State police officers. I have often received training records for Idaho State police officers in the preparation of other cases during the course of my career. They are imperative for us to understand the specialty in interrogating and interviewing people, and for making the decisions that they made with regard to things taken as evidence in the case, or things followed up on or not followed up on. That is the purpose for those records, and we're asking the court to order the state to provide the training records for those 3 officers. Moving on then to our second motion to compel, and what we are looking for is a lot of information from the FBI task team as well as the FBI forensic examiner team. What we're talking about here is the CAS team are the FBI examiners that used cell phone records to provide a lot of information that found its way into the probable cause affidavit that the state relied on in arresting Mr. Kohberger. I had the opportunity to meet with the prosecutor, and they indicate that we will be getting those items in number 1 and number 6 disclosed to us, but we don't know when. So I'm asking this court to issue an order with a date certain to obtain those records. These are bits of investigation that the FBI conducted that relate to Mr. Kohberger's cell phone, and the state has relied on that in their affidavit to say that Mr. Kohberger was in certain places at certain times. So these are bits of information and analysis that's been done since December. We are now at the end of June. We do not have those records yet, Your Honor. They are something that's been relied on by the state for the PC affidavit to arrest Mr. Kohberger, as well as to obtain a variety of search warrants. It's information that the state has agreed we should have, so we ask the court for an order with a deadline to get that. I want the court to know I don't think that Mr. Thompson or Ms. Jennings are trying to withhold this. I think they'll give it to me when they have it, but I think an order from the court saying this is the date certain may help them get the information a little bit more rapidly. I'll move on to our last request, and that's number 2 in the second motion to compel, request number 4, and that has to do with the FBI forensic examiner that told the state to look for a white Hyundai Elantra. This is the examiner that originally there were certain years looked for, and that year range was expanded. I believe I have the communications between the police department and the FBI about how that date range changed, but what I don't have is a report from the examiner. I did receive the CD, curriculum vitae, from about the examiner late yesterday from the prosecutor's office, so I'm asking the court to order a deadline for the report to be given to the defense. Again, the court's read the probable cause affidavit that led to Mr. Kohberger's arrest, and the court can see that this vehicle identification was heavily relied on by the state to arrest Mr. Kohberger, as well as to obtain a lot of other search warrants. This is information that is very necessary for us to prepare our case. I don't think Mr. Thompson and Ms. Jennings are withholding anything. I think they don't have it, but I think we need a court order with a deadline so that we can get that. As the court is aware, the state has a duty to provide discovery to the defense. As the court is aware that not producing discovery, especially when it's material, can be a due process violation. And as the court is aware, the state has filed its notice of intent to seek death against Mr. Kohberger. These are critical, relevant materials, all of them, including the police training records. They're necessary for us to prepare and present our defense of Mr. Kohberger. They're necessary for us to do our investigation. They're necessary for us to prepare our case and our motion practice moving forward. These are things that we need to have. There is a heightened standard now that the state has filed its notice of intent to seek death, and these are very relevant, critical bits of information. They are discoverable, and we're asking the court to order that they be supplied to us.
Mr. Thompson or Ms. Jennings?
So Ms. Taylor's correct. She has everything that the state has in our possession. And we have worked diligently and consistently in getting her all the information that we have in a quick fashion. To date, we have discovered approximately about 13,000 pages of reports, 13,000 photographs, over 10,000 tips, and over 51 terabytes of audio and video information. So we are down to just a few points of disagreement.
Sorry, Mike.
Oh, is it okay if I say?
Yes, yeah, that's fine, thank you.
First, with regard to item number 6 on the defendant's first motion to compel discovery. This involves training records of a couple of officers. Again, these are officers who the state would argue are not material to the case. They've interviewed other witnesses. They wouldn't even be called by the state to testify at trial. And the state objects to this because training records of specified officers aren't included within Bill 16. And they haven't offered any reason as to why this would be needed for the preparation of their case. Again, these are investigators who have gone out and just interviewed some witnesses within the case.
It would be nice if the audio was louder.
So we ask that you rule that this is outside Rule 16. I would just remind the court that several hundred investigators have been involved in this case. Our concern with allowing training records for these few, which we can't understand why there's a substantial need for these particular ones, wouldn't open the door to us then having to go and obtain training records for these hundreds of investigating officers who've been involved, some of which are outside of our control. Moving on to the second motion to compel. As to item number 1, regarding cast information. Ms. Taylor has everything that we have. I've also, that includes reports from MPD officers. What she is seeking is a specific report from the FBI cast team, which I had indicated to her is in its final stages of review. And we are anticipating receiving sooner rather than later, and as soon as we do, we will turn that over.
Sooner than later.
Well, I don't have a date certain, but within the next few weeks.
I think Ms. Taylor wants a date.
I don't have
If
a
I'm
date.
not mistaken.
I've asked for a date, but that is not how the federal bureaucracy works.
That's, how about we say something like July 14, unless there's some reason that they can't get that to you.
No objection.
That was you, Ms. Taylor?
Yes, Your Honor. And then the state has substantially complied with request number 4, which is the same types of information, but related to the identification of the vehicle. Would ask for the exact same date certain of July 14th, only to obtain, if there is one, a potential report that's outstanding.
Is that acceptable, Ms. Taylor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Again, I mean, if there's some pitch in that, I mean, we can explore that, and see what.
Looking for that, that takes care of everything.
Thank you, Ms. Jennings. Anything to respond to, Ms. Taylor?
Yes, Your Honor, I want to give it a little bit more on the police training records. I am aware that over 120 officers were involved in the investigation in this case. I am not asking for all 120 officers. I will tell the court that likely there are other officers training records that I will want. This is within Idaho Criminal Rule 16. These are records, documents, and objects that may have information relevant to Mr. Kohberger's investigation and defense. These are records that are likely of witnesses. Whether or not the state calls them, they are likely to be witnesses. The 3 that I'm asking for now, they have critical roles at various stages. One of the officers did a Stillman search for 2011 to 2013, and they are to get to the FBI to the police. One of them, that same officer assisted in a search for one. This same officer interviewed witnesses from the scene of 1122 King Road on the 13th of November. This officer did follow up with some of the key witnesses in the case. This officer signed an Ada County lab agreement, and this officer handled and collected evidence.
Okay, so it sounds like she's requesting records that has to do with a few of the officers that investigated this case. And I heard her say something about one of the officers did a search of Hyundai Elantra. One of the officers spoke to someone at the residence on November 13th. But wouldn't that be them doing their job? I'm kind of confused by what's her point of this.
An officer that I seek the information from did an interview with a key witness that's expected to testify when this case goes to trial. This officer also mentioned a specialty of working with victims and trauma victims. I think those training records are very relevant. The interview of this key witness was one of multiple interviews of this same key witness by various law enforcement officers. There's a lot of information in the various interviews that's going to come into trial. This officer may well be subpoenaed by the defense to come to trial. That person's training records are very relevant. The
And
last officer did multiple
and their training records. I'm so sorry, Nat. I'm so sorry. And their training records. So she is requesting, obviously, the discovery when it comes to this case and any discovery pertaining to the investigation. But I'm kind of getting confused. Hold on.
That's going to come into trial. This officer may well be subpoenaed by the defense to come to trial. That person's training records are
And their training records as well. I don't know what their training records would have to do with this. Does anybody know?
very. The last officer did multiple interviews, I think a dozen or so. Many of them after the arrest of Mr. Kohberger.
Okay, the last officer, she said, that did many interviews after the arrest of Brian Kohberger.
This officer also interviewed key witnesses in the case. This officer attended the autopsy proceedings. This officer followed up on tips. This officer made decisions about the tips that were given to law enforcement. And this officer.
It sounds like her concern is these officers leaking stuff to the media. Like the officer, one of the officers that did interviews, that same officer attended the autopsy. That same officer did X, Y, and Z. So maybe she has some idea that maybe these officers are leaking information. I'm not sure.
Also collected bits of evidence. Those functions that police officers make daily in their jobs, they make decisions about a case that later comes to court. They make decisions about the case the state's going to present against Mr. Kohberger. They talked to key witnesses. How they do their job, how they were trained to do their job, and what they relied on is incredibly important. When they take the stand, they will say, based on my training and experience, Idaho Criminal Rule 16 talks about witnesses. This is information that the defense needs to conduct its investigation and preparation.
That makes sense, I guess.
And in response to that,
Well,
I had a look, I know maybe you wanted to say something else.
not necessarily, other than just to reiterate that this isn't covered by Rule 16, except for if the state were going to rely upon these witnesses and call them at trial, and then at that point, we would furnish all of that. Much of what Ms. Taylor is saying is just pure speculation.
You could say pure speculation, except she just had quite a list of what these particular officers were involved in investigations. Sort that out. Is that it with the motions to compel
For today,
for today, of course? No motions from the state. All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to take this under advisement, look at the rules, look at some case law, and get a written decision. So with that, we're adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your day.
Okay, so it seems like what happened today is the non-dissemination order was revised a little bit to include law enforcement officers, investigators, and anyone that has become any retained witness for both sides, prosecution or defense. I don't know what is up with my lips. So it's to include the any law enforcement officers working this case, any retained witnesses, and any investigators. He added that the media needs to follow rules. They are not allowed to turn the camera towards the top of the tables. Also, he does not want them to focus directly on Brian Kohberger the entire time, rather than just keep a clear shot of the courtroom. The defense is seeking several motions to compel. A lot of these motions are in regards to the police officers, from my understanding. One is info from an FBI task team that is pertaining to cell phone records that found themselves in a probable cause affidavit. She wants the court to set a date, saying, she wants the court to set a deadline for the prosecution to say, by this date, you have to give them this information. You have to turn over this discovery by X, Y, and Z date. But the judge did not do that. He didn't make a decision today, but she wants information on the officers, an officer that did several interviews, that attended the autopsies, talked to key witnesses. She also wants information on their training. So let's now. So I don't know when he's going to come up with a decision, but I guess we'll see. But let's talk about the home because um a cleaning crew is back over at the house, and from my understanding, any belongings that were still in the home is being cleared out, given to family members, and they are like cleaning the house up. I know that it was said that it would be demolished at one point, but I think that's a mistake. I really think that they should have the jury do a walkthrough of this house. I think it should have been left not exactly the way that it was, not like 100% the way that it was, but I do think it should have been left and they should have gotten the opportunity to walk through that home. I think this is a big mistake not allowing that. So here we are out at the house. This is Chanley from Court TV, where she's doing a report of them outside the house, and that is a cleaning crew there.
Hey everyone, this is Chanley with Court TV, and I wanted to show you here at the crime scene where 4 University of Idaho students were murdered last November. This is the home where they lived. It's now owned by the University of Idaho. The owner gifted to the university. The university plans to demolish the home this summer, and before they do that, they announced that they would have the home cleaned. Well, we see now disaster response trucks here at the home. We presume the crew is in there.
Disaster response trucks. That is the company that's cleaning that. Is that like a company that comes up? Like, I know I've watched TV shows where they have a legit companies that come in to clean up murder scenes. But I wonder who makes that decision. Like who decides, hey, we're going to have the jury do a walkthrough? Because I feel like that is a huge like screw up not to have that happen. I feel like if you could leave things as much as possible as they were, not like a crime scene, but like the girls still live there, leave their belongings in there the way that they were, and obviously clean up some, but have their rooms still the way that they were and have the members of the jury walk through there. I think it would really hit them even harder. The fact that these were college kids with their whole life ahead of them in the comfort of their own home doing nothing wrong and they were killed. I mean, your home is the one place that you should feel safe. And that's where these kids were, and they were brutally killed. So I think this is a huge mistake. I don't know who made this decision, but I feel like this is just a huge mistake.
Cleaning it. I've reached out to the spokesperson of the University of Idaho to garner any sort of response, what exactly is happening here, but I wanted to let you know as soon as possible. We just got here, we've observed this, and as we learn more information, I will update you, so stay tuned to Court TV. Hey everyone, this is Chanley with Court TV, and I wanted to show you here at
Really wild. Yeah, that's another thing is the layout of this home is different. So, I mean, when I first started hearing about going up to the 3rd floor and 2nd floor, and when he was coming down, she saw him, but he didn't see her. I'm like, how did that happen? I feel like you need to know the layout of this house for it to kind of make sense. How she could possibly see him and he could not see her, and how he could get through the house so quickly. Like, I understand they're gonna have like a probably a automated um, like digital video of the home, but I just think a walkthrough would have really worked for the prosecution. So them not doing that in this case, in my opinion, is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen them make thus far. I'm nowhere in the legal field, so I would love to hear Emily Baker, Nate the lawyer, one of them comment on this house not being used and them like allowing it to be cleaned up. Hey, Haley. Haley, did you say you suffer from trigeminal neuralgia as well? If you do, can you message me in the Discord? You're in the Discord, right, babe? I need to get some information from you. Didn't you say you suffer from that? But anyways, you guys, we're gonna continue to keep up with it. So not a lot really done today, other than the defense asking for evidence. And then she did make sure to say, I don't think they're holding this for me, but I think if we could set a deadline, that could speed up the process for them to give this to us. So, I guess we'll know in a few days. Just arrived for discussion magic. Oh, y'all, Magic Wand Productions. Me and her are working on doing a live stream, and I really want you guys to check that out. Magic Wand Productions has a son who was born with a lot of medical conditions. Guess I'm in this group, but no, I don't think so. Oh, okay. It may have been someone else, Haley, who said that. It was at the end of one of my live streams where I had two people say that they suffer from trigeminal neuralgia. And I have a friend who's going through it, and I really want to try to help her. I went through it once years ago, literally like 7 years ago, and thankfully never had another flare up. But I want to talk to someone. So, anyways, Magic Wand Productions has a son that was born, and his intestines were born on the outside of his body. He went through many surgeries. He was actually kind of like kidnapped by the hospital because there were things that the hospital was doing that the mom was not okay with. She'd done a lot of research to figure out what needed to be done for her son, and they were just at odds over what to do with him. And CPS was called on them. It was just a whole big old ordeal. He was basically kind of held in the hospital. They weren't allowed to bring him home, weren't allowed to move him or anything. We're going to have her on. She's going to share her story about her son, who is literally, and let me tell you guys, her son like can't walk. There's a lot that he can't do, but she takes him everywhere and lets him experience life. So he's not just holed up in the house all day, which is really cool. So, anyways, we're going to do that at some point. I'm just waiting for Magic Wand Productions to be ready. If you guys want to check out her page, you can. You'll see videos of her son over on her page. We're going to go live in a little bit over on Elle Bee. I will be doing a hangout stream tonight. I got a bone to pick with, really, I don't know. I'm a little bothered by another creator using my content that I worked really hard on it was a 2-hour video that I watched, and I got the worst parts of the video, compiled them, added closed captioning, and this person took it, did a 15-minute video over it with it, where like 11 minutes of it was my video, and then the last like 4 minutes was her like talking about it. She used my footage 100%. The closed captionings is my closed captionings that I added. So she literally just like kind of stole my content, and she's one of those creators that is always mad if you use anything of hers and you don't credit her. She literally just got mad over the whole Shiny, the Duggar docuseries, Shiny Happy People, Duggar Family Secrets. She literally just like got mad because her voice was in there for all of 3 seconds and they did not credit her. Well, she literally used, I want to be clear in saying this. My video that I did where I showed it was a 1.5 hour video because we talked about it. I showed the video. We talked about it again. I stopped it in between and talked about it. So what she did was she watched my video, recorded it, and then took me out of it all completely and then put it on her channel and gave her 2 cents about it, which is fine. It's fine. People uses people content, but there nowhere on her channel does it say, I got this from Elle Bee. Nowhere on her channel does it say source of information Elle Bee at all. So we're going to do a live stream tonight where we are doing a hangout, and I'm going to show you guys, and I'm going to complain a little bit. Normally I wouldn't care. I'm not going to strike her. Actually, my husband told me to. Sean was like, strike her. I'm not going to do that. I just wish she could at least give credit where credit is due, because she is one of those creators that if you even do a video similar to hers with the same topic after she's done one, she will swear you stole her content, even though you get it from The Sun or TMZ or someone else. She will swear you stole it from her, and it's just not right. And let me tell you guys, that video took me 2 days. I recorded the 2-hour stream. Then I had to watch the 2-hour stream, take bits and clips, put them together, and then add closed captioning. It literally took me 2 days. 2 days. And she could not even say source of information comes from Elle Bee. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We're also going to do, we're going to talk about the Duggars. The cops was called out to the Duggars house, and everybody's reporting the cops was called out to the Duggars house. But you guys, my source is telling me And from the map that I'm looking at, they were not called out to the Duggars house. They were called out to Anna's house. They were not called out to Jim Bob's. They were not called out to the big house. But from what I've been told, they were called out to Anna Duggar's house. I did pull a FOIA for it, and I just got like the records for it, but it's not much. It's not a lot. We are going to go over it, but I do have an idea of what they were there for. So we are going to talk about that as well. So a 911 call was put in Sunday from Anna Duggar's house, from what my source is telling me, and from what the address is showing as well. I saw that 2 people have already talked about this, and they said that it was, yes, Anna Duggar lives on the property, but she lives up here in the warehouse. And they live way back here. So it's not the same address. It is adjacent to their property, but it's up at the road. I actually used to have a video of me passing their house, Anna's house, and like you can see Jim Bob's house on the back, the big house on the back. So the address that the call was made from is the warehouse. So we're going to talk about that. Anyways, join me over there shortly. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. The live stream tonight will be probably, let's just say, what time? I don't know, like 9? I know it's already late. It's already late. Anyways, join me over there to talk about the Duggar call, and then maybe right after that we'll do the hangout because I know it's already late. I'm sorry, you guys. Give this video a thumbs up. Continue following me here to follow the Brian Kohberger case. Also, you guys, yeah, we're going to do a hangout over on Elle Bee in just a little bit, Haley. Also, you guys, tomorrow I'm going to be covering a case about a woman who went on vacation and left her baby at home for 10 days. This woman left her child, who was a year and a half old, at home in her pack and play alone for 10 days. And she was shocked to find that when she got home, her little baby was deceased. She called the cops. Hey, I just got back from vacation and my baby's not alive. And when they got there, they were like, what do you mean? She was like, well, I didn't have any arrangements for the baby. I tried to get a sitter, couldn't find one. So I just went and left my baby here. A 16-month-old innocent little baby. This woman is now in jail. I'm going to do a video about that probably tomorrow. It will be uploaded right here. It'll probably be a pre-recorded video. So just keep your eye out for that. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Leave me your thoughts. And join me over on Elle Bee shortly to talk about the Duggars and then do the hangout. Love you guys. Bye.